Magalhael to Stokes, who's onside. 1-0.
Here's Sims. It's a good serve this from Southampton. They could finish the job here. It's Shane Long, and he has done it. Just a minute to play. That's stoppage time. Here's Letizia. Who better to say farewell than one of the finest players ever to wear the red and white.
Here in the roof of my house, and it looks like it's working after a previous full start. So Tom, welcome back to the show. It feels like it's only been a little while since we last spoke.
It has a few days, but what an exciting game in between those few days, John.
Well, an exciting game, and also the rather kind of important news that, unless there's any Saints fans listening that don't know this yet, we are now safe. We've got another season in the Premier League guaranteed. This is our celebration episode.
Put the champagne on ice.
Yeah, well, I mean, last time our survival episode did involve champagne. It also involved us getting more and more inebriated as the episode wore on. And someone actually said on Reddit of the Saints FC podcast, he was a little bit disappointed that he wouldn't have a progressively inebriated survival episode this season, and that we'd done it with such calmness.
Such a land towards the end as well. Such a shame.
Yeah.
But, I think we know what we prefer.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably all of our hearts are maybe better off, although, having looked at the way Saints play this game under Ralph Hasenhüttl, looking at the last two games, the 1-1 against Watford, the 3-3 against Bournemouth, I think our hearts are in for a bit of a runaround with Ralph Hasenhüttl. It's exciting stuff, isn't it? Yet we still can't defend.
It's, exciting is, I think I sometimes would prefer mundanity to exciting, because the problem with Saints is too often the excitement is weighted in the favour of the opposing team rather than Saints. But two good results, and they got the results they needed to get.
Yeah, and importantly, so did Fulham. Which is, I mean, you never really wanted to rely on Fulham to get you over the line, but to be honest, I think we were going to be there anyway. So we are now 7 points clear from Cardiff. They've only got 2 games to play. Mathematically, we're up. We're staying in the Premier League. It's taken a couple of draws, but really it was the important win against Wolverhampton Wanderers that I think saw us safe. How should we do this, Tom? I've got a couple of emails to get through. We've also got to do some running shout-outs for Edward Marsh, so I don't know if you want to shout some encouragement for him.
Go on, Edward, you can do it. This is the chap that's raising all that fantastic money, isn't he? But what's it for again? It's for the Saints Foundation.
Yeah, that's someone else.
God damn it.
That's all right. Edward just listens whilst he runs, so he wants us to give him running shout-outs. But yeah, why are you not running for some great cause, Edward? Or maybe you are. You should tell us, and we can push people towards it. Actually, you know who is running right now?
Franny.
Yeah, Franny. On his Iron Fran first Ironman of, 7 Ironman in a row he's going to do?
The man's insane.
He is clearly insane.
What a man, though.
Yeah.
What a specimen.
What a hero. Well, let's go through the Bournemouth game. There's not much to talk about there. Then we'll get on to the listener emails. So I wasn't feeling particularly confident about this game. I felt like Saints just wanted to maybe extend the relegation kind of fight a little bit longer, kind of like how we let Liverpool win at St Mary's so that the title race could continue a little bit longer. And there were moments when we really tried to do that, although once again, straight out the traps, Saints looked absolutely fantastic, loads and loads of pressure. And when we went up 1-0 up, which I think was it like in the 12th minute or something,
12th minute, yeah,
we already looked like we could have had 2 or 3 goals by that point.
Yeah, it was funny. Saints sort of really flew out. I mean, we know Bournemouth had a great first half of the season and tailed off in a serious way probably quite worrying working already how, and a particularly poor away from home. But Saints sort of just sat at them, didn't they? Like, it was unrelenting, just wave after wave of attack and pressing from midfield. And the goal machine, the Irish Messi, popped up again.
The Irish Messi. I think you might need to get more than 4 goals in 5 games to start drawing the Messi comparisons. But it is great, isn't it? You know, that Shane Long is suddenly looking like the Shane Long that we saw under Ronald Koeman. And I wonder, has it just been the dirge of football under the previous 3 managers before Ralph Hasenhüttl's come in, and now we can start to see, you know, the Shane Long that we know and love, and the one that we know can score goals.
But also, if you look at the way the Saints play, isn't it, that it's all set up for Shane Long? You know, this sort of like really dynamic, aggressive pressing game where, you know, every player is encouraged to steam into the goalkeeper or any defender that accidentally dwells on the ball for even a matter of milliseconds. So you can imagine, like, you know, Ralph almost sort of went to him, like, you could sort of lead the line. And I think we're quite lucky because Danny Ings' goal scoring form has tailed off. Admittedly, he has been injured, but luckily Shane Long has stepped up because, you know, if it wasn't for Shane, the last few games would have been a little bit more hairy.
Yeah, absolutely. Although it feels a little bit trite to pick up Shane Long on his mistakes, considering the form that he's in. But we really should have been 2 up.
Yeah, I don't think this miss is as bad as everyone says. Maybe I'm being a bit charitable, but it kind of comes back and kind of hits him. You can't really do much about it. I mean, Gary Lineker on Twitter said it was the worst miss of the Premier League season, but compared to Sterling, I think if you remember Sterling earlier this season missed from like a yard out with one of those just passes across the goal line that Man City is so good at. So, you know, I think he should have scored, but it wasn't the miss of the century. It wasn't Ronnie Rosenthal.
No, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it all happened very, very quickly, I thought. But still, even your kind of split-second reaction, you would expect him to be able to put it away. And then in the end...
It was a lot of goal to aim at, wasn't it?
Yeah. In the end, we end up paying for it, don't we? Because, you know, a Bournemouth counter-attack, which must be like the first time they pretty much got the ball into our half, they score.
Yeah, and this is the thing with Saints. This is what Liverpool did to us. And I wonder if we are being a little bit... brave is one way of putting it, optimistic is another way, foolish is probably the right way of putting it, in terms of our defending at set pieces, because we do have this habit of leaving one man back, and we do get caught, and to be fair to Bournemouth, it's a brilliant counter attack. They tore us to shreds, didn't they?
Yeah, it was very impressive,
and a great finish.
Yeah, we are susceptible to that. And to be honest, though, that goal didn't annoy me as much as probably the one afterwards, where, I mean, am I being really harsh to ask questions over Angus Gunn here?
I don't know. I mean, I've watched it a load of times, and I can't work out if he really could have done anything else. The ball changes direction really, like, right in front of him. So he almost does well to get a hand to it. Yeah, of course, you should have, getting a hand to it. Of course, you should push it out to the side. But, I think as well, there's a couple of things. There's, why are none of our centre-backs or defenders or anyone anticipating that second ball? And, more than that, like, we were a bit just lacklustre off the corner, weren't we? Allowing David Brooks to sort of run with the ball and take a pop. I don't put all the blame with Angus on this one. I think a lot of people on Twitter have been a bit tough on the guy.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe he was a little bit caught in between trying to palm it out and trying to kind of like stop the ball dead and hold on to it, and then he's ended up doing neither and just leaving the ball, nicely dangling there for Wilson to get to. Yeah,
I mean, it was a great hit from Brooks. I'm not going to attach as much blame to him for that goal. If anything, I think he's more liable for the first goal, because the first goal is kind of hit straight at him.
Yeah.
Whereas on the second one, I think that's a bit harsh.
Okay. So then suddenly, having dominated the game, looking absolutely fantastic again, loads and loads of kind of like battling spirit and energy going forward, loads of great chances, and somehow we're losing as we go into half time. But the thing that Ralph Hasenhüttl does that's different from the previous managers we've had is he gets Saints fired up again. We don't collapse anymore when we concede. We try and continue to win the game. And James Ward-Prowse, with a rare left-footed goal from outside the box.
Yeah, but it was a positive substitution, wasn't it? Yeah, taking off. I think if I take a step back, we cannot defend with two centre-backs. Like, Saints are too bad at defending to have two centre-backs. Like, every time this season we tried two centre-backs, generally it just hasn't worked. And I think that, as soon as we went to a back three with Bertrand slipping in at left centre-back, we looked so much better. And I wonder if Vestergaard is going to be out for a little while, that could be something he tries, because it was a much more positive change. And, James Ward-Prowse did a lot to like, in terms of the build-up and in terms of his general contribution. But it was a great finish, and I think he just totally took Boruc by surprise, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't know whether that's do you think that's because Boruc played with James Ward-Prowse before, so thinks, he doesn't have a left foot, there's no way he's going to hit a left-footed shot, and then suddenly he does. He goes into that near corner, and he looked like he was wrong-footed, didn't he?
Yeah, and James Ward-Prowse sort of passes it. It's a weird shot to go in, but I think if you imagine, Boruc would have probably spent hours having James Ward-Prowse take free kicks and shots at him. And that probably, until this season, not enough which going in. But he just totally wrong-footed him. And I also, fair play to James Ward-Prowse for trying something different.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's one of the interesting things, is that we seem to quite consistently be trying different things, and different things seem to be working quite regularly for us. Like long shots, like James Ward-Prowse turning into some sort of kind of battling animal that likes to tackle. Like Shane Long scoring, like Redmond scoring. We're trying different things, and they're paying off. And it's almost like just a little bit of being brave, and it can make a huge difference. And I've got to say, I think in a weird way, the last goal for us, the Matt Targett goal, was almost my favourite, because
it was brilliant. Yeah, it was a goal made in Southampton, wasn't it? Because there's a lovely bit of midfield play from James Ward-Prowse to release Valerie. And one of the things, there's loads to love about this goal. So Ward-Prowse's release is brilliant. And then Valerie does this sort of touch where he just takes it just beyond the Bournemouth player enough. He doesn't try and get to the line. He just does enough. And then whips in this unbelievable, ridiculous FIFA-style cross. And then goofy Matt Targett is just there, hanging in midair at the back post. And who'd have thought, of all the people, you could almost hear on the commentary, they couldn't believe that Matt Targett had somehow got there and got what was if Andy Carroll or someone had scored that header, people would be raving about it. It was brilliant. There was a nice little bit as well. I think you watch the replay, I think there's a bit where Boruc gets a hand to it, and Boruc getting a hand to it, there's a defender coming back on the line, takes it just over the defender on the line, so there's a little bit of comedy as well. But yeah, I think it's probably one of the goals of the season from Saints, because it was just so well done, and like you say, a bullet header.
Yeah, and then we have the equaliser again, so throwing the lead away for the second time in the game, with Callum Wilson. And Stuart Armstrong, seriously, mate.
Yeah. Maybe that's the difference, isn't it? Maybe that's the difference between Scotland, and Stuart Armstrong will learn, but Premier League, Bournemouth aren't a great Premier League team, but they punished us. They surgically tore us apart, and it all was Armstrong sort of, for no reason, sort of showboating, just being a bit casual in centre midfield.
Yeah, and then he loses the ball, appeals to the ref first, gets turned down, and then
yeah, because at least if you make the challenge, you get booked. At least you could say, "Well, I screwed up, but I did the right thing tactically." But it was just a catalogue of errors. In many ways, he's lucky the referee did an ultimate insult to injury and call it, after they'd scored, to go back and then book Armstrong for the terrible attempted foul.
Yeah. So we leave it at 3-3. We could talk about the other Bournemouth chants. We could talk about the Bournemouth players cupping their ears towards the family stand.
Could talk about Jack Stevens being again very lackadaisical on the ball.
I mean, I think Jack Stevens has to reinvent himself as a defensive midfielder, because this centre half stuff just isn't working out for him at all.
Well, he can't keep making mistakes when he's the one that's meant to be the last line of defence, and we've seen it too many times this season with him just making. And I really like him as a footballer, but he just seems to make really basic mistakes. Concentration. So,
Tom, little game here, little quiz. So, had Saints have managed to hold on to the lead in every game that they've played, taken the lead in, where do you think they would be in the table?
Well, isn't it 27 points now with that game on Saturday?
Yeah, 27 points.
Isn't it? I mean, I think someone put this the other day, we'd be in 7th and comfortably in the Europa League, like guaranteed a Europa League place.
Yeah, I think with all of those 27 points, we'd be level points with Manchester United. Perhaps, if we hadn't conceded all of those goals, we'd maybe be okay on goal difference as well. But that is the difference, And I think that's the thing that Ralph Hasenhüttl needs to work on next season, almost more than anything else, is he's got to do something about the way that we concede leads. He's done an amazing job so far, don't get me wrong. This is like no slight on Ralph Hasenhüttl. I think he's absolutely wonderful, but we haven't fixed that problem yet.
Yeah. I think a lot of it's psychological, isn't it? Where we just don't seem to believe we can hold a lead. And it's an older problem than Hasenhüttl, to be fair. I mean, one of the last few games, 2-0 up against Man United after 19 minutes, and you just knew, didn't you? You knew as soon as Herrera scored that first goal for Man United, you knew that they were going to get at least a point out of the game. I don't know what he has to do. I do think we lack leaders. I think we also just have a lot of players that make silly mistakes. I think kind of Romeu makes a lot of silly sort of bits of the ball where he gets tackled and expects fouls to be given. Stevens makes silly errors. We saw Armstrong do one. We seem to kind of make errors and then get punished for them an awful lot. It'd be interesting if Duncan Alexander can sort of any stats on that, but we do sort of get punished for our own mistakes, and that's something Ralph is going to have to cut out, because that is the difference, isn't it? That's the difference between mid-table to upper mid-table mediocrity, and we'll be back down there again next year.
Yeah, and I suppose the other thing now is we can also start asking the questions of who do we need to buy in, what positions do we need. I know that you're a little bit pushed for time tonight, Tom, so let's put that one out to the listeners. Who should we be getting in the summer? Which players do you think we need to replace? Who is going to make the difference and make Southampton better at holding on to leads and turn us from a team that's battling to survive in the division to one that's battling to try and get into the Europa League places?
Well, maybe at the end of the season, John could do a sort of, the awards program, the legendary Saints FC Podcast Awards, and maybe sort of go through the squad and sort of see what their prospects are for the coming year.
I think that's a thoroughly good question. We do have a couple of bits of listener correspondence, Tom, which I need to pick up with you. So the first one, and you can tell me, you can have a little bit of time to think about this. I can come back to you later, or you can answer it straight up. Is from Ralph's Revolution on Twitter, who asks, would you rather be alone forever or never alone? And he thinks we'd give different answers for this question, so I'm interested to know what you would say.
I would rather be. So what is it? Alone forever or
never alone?
I don't never alone.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a life of solitude? You'd go mad.
Well, I mean that's exactly the same that I'd have, never alone, and it's a really easy question for me. So. Interesting.
John, you're a family man, you're a popular guy. What would you do? You'd go mad. We'd all go mad.
I think you would, yeah. You'd kind of go Gollum-esque, wouldn't you, from Lord of the Rings. So the next thing, got a couple of emails. People have emailed in, saintsfcpodcast@gmail.com. The first one I want to read out. It's from Chris Williams. He says, hi, John, Tom, Pirate. wow, what a turnaround. Ralph has changed so much about this club in only 6 months or so. The whole new ethos he's brought to the club is so much more exciting than I ever thought. He's been brave, honest, kind, supportive, and truly meticulous in planning and carrying out the plan on the pitch. These are all qualities that Hughes did not show, and he picks out what he thinks are his biggest changes that he's made. One, the sheer belief Ralph had in January to stick with and develop the players, and particularly the youth, was striking. And goes on to say, how many January mercenaries have we bought over the years that have left a big dent in the wage bill but a small impact on the pitch?
Agree.
Yeah, totally agree. The way he saw Saints' problems as a whole, made fans part of the revival, brought the academy to train with the seniors, realised that the spirit and positive thinking needed to run from top to bottom and drive the change needed. So, whole systems thinking, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what Saints were famous for before, wasn't it? The sort of, every team from the under sixes or whatever it was played the same way. And it's just brought that back. And I do agree with the youth team. I think if when he shipped out Suarez and you're like, well, so we've got a kid who's played like 2 games, he's going to be our first choice right back for the end of the season. Everyone, myself included, was a little bit alarmed, but you've got to have faith in Ralph. He knows what he's doing. And he's getting the absolute best out of those players.
Yeah, and just the way that he's picked up the fans, I can't see that there's many or any Saints fans that could possibly be looking at Ralph Hasenhüttl and thinking that they could be doing a better job. And I can't remember, it's probably Ronald Koeman, but even Ronald Koeman in that amazing season where we finished 6th, there were still people kind of criticising his approach. But Ralph really has, brought the fan base together in a way that I've probably not seen since maybe Pochettino.
Yeah, well, I think with Koeman, whilst everyone, absolutely respects him as manager, and you can't argue with finishing 6th, that was an incredible achievement. He always felt a little bit transactional, and maybe that you knew he was always just going to ditch Saints as soon as he got a better offer. And I think another thing that kind of was a bit frustrating is that he took a better offer, which was Everton, which is actually a bit rubbish offer. They're a quite bigger club, but it wasn't like he went to one of the greats. Pochettino, went to Spurs. That's a great football club. But I think with Ralph, you're absolutely right. He's just kind of engendered this positivity and this warmth and this feeling of, it's that sort of classic American politician test of would you have a beer with him? And I think, you'd have several beers with Ralph.
Yeah. Well, and he bought every fan a beer in his first game,
He did. He knows the way around.
Yeah.
He knows the way to our hearts, doesn't he, John?
He does. Also says, Ralph trusted his system and picked the players to fit that rather than the other way around. Although I'm not 100% agreeing with Chris here on that, because his main system is the 4-2-2-2. And he's seen on the few occasions that he's tried 4 at the back that it doesn't work, and so he has played 5 at the back. But in terms of the kind of attitude and the high pressing, he's looked for the players that have fitted his mindset and his philosophy to football much more than he has, just like try to kind of almost let the kind of like seniority of the players choose the way the team should be lined up.
Yeah, and if you think about, we talk about him a lot, but James Ward-Prowse, you would never have thought that, one of our sort of midfield destroyers would end up being James Ward-Prowse and would be, one of the first names on the team sheet. But Ralph has done that. These are all really top-class footballers, as all Premier League footballers are. And it's just about instilling the right mindset, and making them play to the system. And the system works. When they all do it together, much like with Pochettino, it really works. And Saints, they're a delight to watch now, aren't they? Just harassing defenders and goalkeepers every single second of the game.
Yeah, it's just exciting to watch, isn't it? Okay, and so Chris's 4th and final point is he mentored players on an individual level, giving them clear goals and support and actual goals. James Ward-Prowse with aggression, trusting his ability. Shane Long, run your heart out and the goals will come. Valerie, young player that he supported and has managed to kind of flourish. Ralph kind of added that little je ne sais quoi. I don't know what the Austrian for je ne sais quoi is, but whatever that is, that's what he's done as well.
Yeah, and he's turned Redmond into a player that, you can imagine other teams look at and they go, we don't want to play against that. Yeah, that's the guy you don't want to play against, because Redmond has it all, doesn't he? He has pace, he has the mental attitude now, he has, he's getting the finishing. Next season, if unfortunately he'll be on the radar of some of the bigger sort of Champions League European clubs, and if he does, he deserves that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Chris, thank you very much for your email. If you want to follow Chris Williams on Twitter, it's at Chris_Strat on Twitter. Tom, what's happened to you? You're breaking up. Tom, are you moving around your house?
Maybe it was Titter.
It was Titter.
Well, I'm here. It's my Wi-Fi.
Is it your Wi-Fi?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
My Wi-Fi playing up.
You sound a little bit robotic. And at that point, Tom's Wi-Fi cut out and it didn't come back, so I'm afraid we weren't able to talk about the West Ham game. Tom is heading across to that, though, so if you do fancy saying hello to him when he's there, he'll be at the London Stadium. Big thanks to all of you who emailed in. If you'd like us to discuss your email on the show, do so saintsfcpodcast@gmail.com and we'll try and get onto that. But otherwise, let's look forward to next season in the Premier League. Hopefully a couple of nice results to finish the season with, and a big party at St Mary's on the final day of the season against Huddersfield. But until then, that's all for now. Come on, you Reds.